So what I've done in recap is this is going to call the timer, and then this is just going to continue to add the blocks as the timer ticks on every quarter of a second, as I've described above. So now what we want to do is add a branch, and I'm left clicking and pressing and holding B on the keyboard to add a branch, or you can right click and type branch. So I want to say, is the current counter equal to the total value that I'm expecting for like A, for instance? So if it's not, I basically want to keep ticking. If it is, that means I've added all the blocks that I'm expected to add. So first I'll say, am I currently testing A? If I am, then what I want to do is I want to reset this value so that I can tick for the next one. So I'm going to say reset, add. I'm going to add this here. So I'll say reset, add, and then I will say set currently testing A to false so that next time we'll test B. And then we'll say add blocks on timer. So once we've exhausted, so here basically we're saying, have we added all the A's? Yes. Are we currently testing A? Then this logic is going to make us test B. So then when we come back, it's going to start feeding in these B values into here, and we'll start adding the B blocks. So once B is done, then what we want to do is take our timer, and we're going to stop looping altogether. We'll say clear and invalidate timer by handle, which will stop our timer and make it not loop anymore. I'm going to say reset add. I'm going to set it back to A for the next time around by setting this to true. And then what we're going to do is I'll say set timer by event. I'm going to create an event. I'm going to set a 3-second duration between once we're done adding all the blocks and sort of doing our reset. And so I'll create an event, and I'll call this destroy blocks. And we're going to add one more function. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to say add custom event. And we're going to call this test block counts. And right in between here, I'm going to say test block counts. And this is where we're going to basically say, is A greater than B, and play the animation. So I'm going to comment this whole thing, and I'll say add blocks on timer, and then we can move on. All right, so now what we want to do is we'll drag our block count A and our block count B. And we want to say, is A greater than B? If it's true, we're going to grab our text from above, and we'll say set text. We'll drag into here, and I'm going to pull off where it says value and say make literal text, which allows me just to set a value without creating a proper variable. And I'll say A is greater than B. And what we're going to do is we'll just copy this 3 times. We could do, like a select type thing, but we're just gonna copy this for now. I'm gonna add another branch here where it says false, and I'm gonna say, is A equal to B? So we're gonna run this test. If it's equal to B, then I'm gonna set the text to say A is equal to B. And I'll say B is greater than A if it is false. After this, what we're going to do is we're going to play our animations. So I'll grab my character A, my character B. I'll drag off and I'll say play montage. And you'll likely notice that there aren't any montages to play unless you make one. So in order to do that, if you search in your content drawer at the top, if you say jump, you'll find this where it says mm_jump by right click and say show in folder view. I've already duplicated this, but what you can do is, or I've already created a montage. You'll right click your asset and say create anim montage. And this is going to be your jump montage, which is what we're going to use. So you can reference that in by hitting the arrow here when it's selected in your content drawer. And I will duplicate this again. And I'll add this for character B. Make sure to save periodically as time goes on. So I'll show you when things are missing. So I'll make sure my text render is connected there. And then remember how we hid our text in the beginning. We can copy this and paste it back down here after we play the montage. And we can set our visibility to true. And so we'll add all these in here. All right, and let's add a comment on this and say determine winner. All right, and now all we have to do is destroy our blocks at the end. So let's do that. With our function, what we can do is loop through both of our arrays. So I'll get A and I'll get B. I'll say for each loop of A, and I will say destroy component. I'll drag this in here. On complete, I will say clear this array so that I remove all of the values and the indices. And then I'll do the exact same thing after that for B. To make this streamlined, what you could do is collapse this to a function. And just like that, clear the values and set them. This is actually a slightly better way, potentially. So if I delete this, now I just have this, and I've reused some of my functionality. So I'll just name this clear arrays. And once I've done that, I will then go back up to my very first thing, which is start block add timer. So I'll call this here start block add timer. Maybe that's not the best function name, but it is what it is. And then we will again set our visibility to false. Compile and we'll save. And let's test this out. All right. We'll start by dragging this into our viewport. So I'll find this in my content drawer. I can see that I have my two gentlemen. And let's see how this goes. So we can see. Oh, okay. So actually, here's one thing we want to do. So we see them stacking up with our text, but we're having them misoriented in space. So let's go back into our blueprint in our add block to stack function. We actually want to click this where it says manual attachment. We're going to set this to true. I'm going to go back and play. And let's add an offset in space for our side components. So we know that the cubes are 50 units tall. So let's add a 50 unit offset in Z for the side A and B scene component. And our max block count is set to 10. And let's see how this goes. So we can see we have A on the left, B on the right, and we're stacking up our blocks one by one in a 0.25 second delay. And it's working really well. It looks smooth. It's accurately counting our blocks. We're getting our animation of our skeletal mesh here to say, I'm the winner, doing a little celebratory jump. And this is, a simple blueprint, but it's one that communicates a lot of really important techniques to implement. We're counting, we're comparing, we're spawning, we're running loops, we're saving values, and we've practiced, very clean blueprinting. So I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. And if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment. Let me know anything you want to learn about Unreal Engine, and stay tuned for more blueprint tutorials. Thanks all.